All right. Hello, Better Me Nation. How are you today? It is Thanksgiving weekend coming up here, and I'm excited to spend time with friends and family and enjoying the holidays and traditions. I'm the cook in the family, so I'm the one making the turkey. And you know what? I love it. It's so much fun. And so I think I make a pretty good turkey. Well, with it being Thanksgiving, I'm going to be doing a post on gratitude. Now, shocking, right? How typical to do a post on gratitude this week. But regardless, gratitude has been on my mind a lot lately, anyways. And I wanted to hit up this topic along this time frame, regardless of where we were at in the time of year. So I want to start off with a story. Now, um, you're gonna have to excuse me today. I've got a little bit of a sore throat that I'm overcoming, and I'm still taking some lozenges. But I'm going to start off with a story. And when I was, oh man, I was probably 21 years old, maybe 22 years old, and I had to have a surgery on my jaw. I had a really big underbite, and I had to have corrective surgery for it. And the surgery that breaks your jaw in a couple spots, probably three or four actually, and then they move it around, and then they bolt it back together, and they do some bone grafting to help it heal. They wire you shut for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then after that, there's still a big healing process. And I remember I had this surgery at the end of August, and come November, like I'm healing all through September and October, and come November, I remember I was going to a concert with some girls and some friends of mine, and at the concert, my face started hurting really bad, and it was like to the point where like I couldn't enjoy the concert. I wasn't enjoying doing anything. It was really odd. I've never had that kind of pain. It wasn't a sinus infection. It wasn't the flu. It was just pain and swelling in my face. And I wake up the next morning and my face is massive. It's huge, all to one side. It's just it's swollen, but only on half the face. And I remember going into the bathroom that morning and looking at my face. And at this point, I had just experienced massive weight loss from being wired shut and being on a liquid diet for 8 weeks. My From the surgery, your head balloons, so I'm like an orange on a toothpick. And I'm finally getting back to normal after all of that. And now this happens. And I remember just standing in the bathroom, looking in the mirror, just crying and just saying, God, why? Why me? Why me? Why me? And in that moment, the scriptures, the Old Testament story of Job comes to mind. And I realized like he went through so much more and that I had really nothing to complain about. And God reminded me that despite this, I wasn't that bad off. And so in that moment, I decided to start counting my blessings and just started listing all the things that I was grateful for. And I was like, you know what? I'm grateful that I slept in a comfortable bed last night. I'm grateful that I'm near my father and he can drive me to a hospital. And then when I get there, a hospital is going to be there. And that in that hospital will be doctors and nurses to take care of me, and medicine and beds for me to lay in, and for there to be answers. And as I started counting my blessings, everything changed. Everything. What started off as what I thought was going to be one of the worst days of my life ended up being one of the best days of my life. Not because of some monumental event that happened like my marriage or birth of a child, but the best in that I realized that my attitude and my happiness was up to me, not the external circumstances. So that's kicking off this topic of gratitude today for us at Better Me Nation. And if you know anything about Better Me Nation, we are all about helping people overcome the hard stuff confidently so we can ambitiously become our best self. And the number one way you can do that at no cost. You don't need anything else in this world. You don't need a weird diet plan. You don't need a trainer. You don't need a coach. You don't need anything to do this one thing that will impact every aspect of your health. And that one thing is gratitude. And it's probably one of the most important things we can do for our health because it does impact every aspect of it. It impacts our brain health, our physical, our mental, our social, our relationships, our spiritual health. And so I tell my coaching clients, so many of my coaching clients, they're at a very low point when they start coaching because for whatever reason, something's not working right in their life and they're kind of grasping for hope. And we start with gratitude. And the reason we start with gratitude is because gratitude is one of those things that I can just be simple. I'm grateful that I've got a nice warm jacket. I'm grateful that my kids love me. I'm grateful to have turkey tomorrow, right? To have family traditions. We can start very simple, but it has immediate impact on us. Unfortunately, some people procrastinate doing this because it sounds so simple. It sounds so easy. How can it make a difference? Well, I'm here to tell you it does. And I'm going to share with you today a lot of the science and the research behind it. All right. So let's kind of start off at a high level real fast. Okay. Gratitude encompasses a range of positive emotions and attitudes, from recognizing the good in one's life to expressing thanks for the kindness and support received from others. It's a powerful force that can enhance our overall well-being and contribute to positive relationships and a more fulfilling life. I'm going to just rattle off a few more of the benefits that I have found from gratitude, not only myself, but other people, right? So gratitude, it enhances our mental well-being. It reduces symptoms of depression and anxiety because it shifts our focus from negative thoughts to the positive aspects of life, promoting a much more optimistic mindset. Gratitude encourages individuals, helps us find a meaning and the positive, even in challenging situations, fostering improved emotional resilience. Expressing gratitude towards others strengthens our relationships. It gives us a sense of connection, trust, and reciprocity, leading to more positive interactions in both the personal and professional environments. It's also associated with improved physical health, including better sleep, reduced inflammation, and better cardiovascular health. Gratitude cultivates an outlook on life by focusing on what we can control and what we have versus what is out of our control and what we don't have. And it creates a mindset of abundance. All right, so let's dive into how does gratitude impact every health focus in that spectrum, right? So we're going to start with how does gratitude impact brain health? Well, when it comes to gratitude and brain health, there are three key areas that our brain benefits from gratitude. One is the brain's reward system. Two is neurotransmitters. And three is our cognitive function. Now, because our brain is at the center of how we function, there's a lot of crossover between our brain health and the other categories of health when discussing the benefits of gratitude. So to avoid redundancy as much as possible, I'm going to be very brief with discussing the benefits to brain health and cover its core benefits only at a high level, and then we'll do the deeper dives later on in the other categories. Sound good? All right. So let's talk about how it affects the brain's reward system. Particularly, it impacts the areas associated with pleasure, motivation, and social bonding. Activating the brain's reward system is essential for various aspects of our brain health, including motivation, learning, emotional well-being, stress regulation, social connection, motor control, mood regulation, addiction prevention, cognitive flexibility, and sensory processing. Now, if you heard all those things, you realize in that list was a lot more than just our brain, right? There's a lot of emotional things in there and relationship too, right? So This is massive. You can see already how gratitude is impacting the entire spectrum, right? And a well-functioning reward system contributes to a positive and resilient brain. All right, the next area is on the influence it has on neurotransmitters. Now, neurotransmitters are those hormonal and chemical releases in the brain, right? So gratitude has been associated with changes in the neurotransmitter activity in the brain. And these are the chemicals that transmit signals between nerve cells or neurons and play a crucial role in regulating mood, emotion, and other various cognitive functions. So let's talk about what those neurotransmitters are. The main ones are dopamine, right? And that's a lot where what we talked about earlier around the reward system. The reward system is heavily influenced by dopamine, right? And so this is where we receive pleasure, reward, and motivation. The next one is oxytocin. This is a neurotransmitter and hormone often referred to as the bonding or love hormone. So again, right? So relationships, okay? Serotonin is the next one. And this plays a key role in our mood regulation and emotional well-being, right? So our mental and emotional health, right? Are we seeing this, right? And then the fourth key one here is the endorphins. And these are our natural painkillers and mood enhancers. So physical health, but also our mental and emotional health, right? Okay. So the last one I want to talk about on its impact on brain is our memory enhancement and cognitive function. And gratitude has been associated with memory enhancement through various physiological and neurobiological mechanisms. Several studies suggest that practicing gratitude positively influences memory in many ways, including positive emotion and encoding, increased hippocampal activity, reduction in stress and cortisol levels, and better sleep quality. So with its association and improvements in cognitive flexibility, which that refers to our ability to adapt to new information, switch between tasks, and think creatively, I want to share with you some ways in which gratitude may enhance your cognitive flexibility, okay? So one is positive emotions, right? Positive emotions are linked to cognitive flexibility as they broaden the scope of attention and thinking. And we know that gratitude is always accompanied by positive emotions. This positive orientation can contribute to improved problem-solving skills and a more adaptive approach to new information. Individuals who regularly practice gratitude may be more willing to consider alternative viewpoints, contributing again to cognitive flexibility. All right. So that is our little niche on brain health. Now let's jump over to how gratitude impacts our mental health. And there's a number of scientific studies that show gratitude has a positive influence on those with depression, PTSD or trauma, anxiety, and stress. In positive psychology, gratitude plays a central role as a key component contributing to individual well-being, happiness, and overall positive mental health. Positive psychology focuses on understanding and enhancing the positive aspects of human experience, and gratitude is recognized as a powerful and transformative force in that process. So here are some key aspects of the role of gratitude in positive psychology. One, it's considered one of the core positive emotions. It involves recognizing and appreciating the positive aspects of one's lives, fostering feelings of joy, contentment, and satisfaction. It's also strongly associated with subjective well-being and a sense of purpose. Individuals who regularly practice gratitude tend to report higher levels of overall life satisfaction. Gratitude is also linked to greater resilience in the face of adversity. And we're going to hear that a lot today. When individuals focus on positive aspects of their lives, we are better equipped to cope with stress and challenges. This encourages positive thinking by shifting the focus from what is lacking to what is present and what is positive. This positive thinking can contribute to a more optimistic and hopeful outlook on life. Gratitude in positive psychology is not merely seen as a polite or a social gesture, but it's a powerful psychological practice with far-reaching effects on our individual well-being, positive emotions, our relationships, and how we enjoy and appreciate the life that we have. Now, it's not just positive psychology, it's also the reduction of stress and anxiety. Gratitude is associated with this in many ways through various psychological and physiological mechanisms, right? So, gratitude practices may reduce repetitive negative rumination patterns, which are common contributors to stress and anxiety. I know for me, the rumination of replaying negative situations over and over is a big deal for me. It's something that I regularly work against, right? So gratitude helps me combat that. Gratitude is also associated with increased activity in brain regions related to the positive emotions, like we talked about those neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. Then it's also, we talked about this before too, improved sleep quality, which sleep quality, and you're going to hear this, the impact of gratitude on sleep then continues on to reduction in other areas. And one of those is in the anxiety management area, right? So these gratitude practices activate the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting the state of relaxation, reducing our physiological stress responses. All right, so that's a lot on the mental health. And that alone, we could probably do a whole episode on it. Maybe one day I'll get a therapist or psychologist on and we can just go there with gratitude and that topic. But let's jump into the next one, relationships. So I'm going to have a quick drink here. Gratitude plays a significant role in strengthening connections between individuals. I think we can all think of examples where we express gratitude to someone we know or someone we loved, and it changed that moment, right? Maybe during an argument or the end of a day or a beginning of a day, right? I know for me and my wife, when we first got married, when we would say our prayers together, at the end of those prayers, we would tell God why we were grateful for the other person. And we need to do that more now. I actually kind of miss that practice. And when we do it now, I can sense I do sleep better at night. So it's a nice selfish thing. But I also know that my wife sleeps better. And I know that she goes to bed feeling loved and appreciated. And so I want to share with you several ways in which gratitude contributes to building and strengthening these connections between people. And this isn't just in a marriage. It's not just between parents and children. It can also be between coworkers or employee and boss, or it can be between entrepreneur and vendors or customers, right? So when people openly express their gratitude, like I shared it with that story between me and Kat, it communicates that we recognize and value other people's efforts and contributions, right? And that strengthens a bond. When individuals feel appreciated and acknowledged, it also creates a sense of trust and understanding, forming a stronger foundation between the two people. It promotes reciprocity. When we're expressing gratitude toward one another, it can inspire the receiving person to reciprocate that, creating a positive cycle of giving and receiving that again strengthens that connection between them. It also enhances communication. Sometimes communicating is hard, but when you know that the other person is grateful for you and grateful for things you've done, there's a lot more forgiveness and a lot more intentful listening, right? And so there's a lot more constructive affirmations going on. Empathy too. Empathy is developed, right? Because now we're more willing to see other people's side. When we feel seen and we feel understood, we're more willing to see their side of things. Quite honestly, it also creates positive memories. Memories kind of go back to our brain health. When we create new memories, our brain is strengthened, right? So that also enhances our emotional bond. So those are just a few of them. There are so many more benefits to it, but those are the core ones on how our relationships are improved and deepened. The next category of health that I want to discuss is our emotional health, right? Gratitude has been linked to the development of emotional resilience, which refers to our ability to adapt positively to adversity, stress, and challenges. So I want to share with you several ways in which gratitude promotes emotional resilience. And you're going to see a lot of connections to our mental health here as well, because our mental and emotional health have a lot of overlapping benefits to each other and the way they benefit from external sources. So gratitude, when we express gratitude, it encourages us to reframe negative situations by focusing on the positive aspects of experiences. This reframing helps us view challenges as opportunities for growth, thus fostering a more resilient mindset. It also serves as a coping mechanism during difficult times. When we're facing adversity, like in that story I shared in the beginning, right? Expressing gratitude for what we have provides a source of emotional strength and resilience. And that's why my day ended up so great, right? It also promotes a shift from scarcity to abundance, right? If you're thinking, oh, why don't I have this? Why don't I have this? I wish I had that. I wish I had that. And then you shift to, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. Now you feel rich, right? So instead of dwelling on what is lacking or challenging, those who practice gratitude are focusing on the positive, giving us a more resilient outlook on life. Because gratitude is often expressed towards others, those social connections that we talked about earlier are also enhanced. And this social connection is essential for emotional well-being. It also acts as a buffer against negative emotions. Bad things are going to happen to us. Hard times are going to come at us. But if we're regularly practicing gratitude when those things come, right, there's that buffer, right? And this is part of why I say we want to confidently overcome the hard stuff. Gratitude plays a huge role in that, because when the hard stuff comes, but you're already filled with so much gratitude, that gratitude helps that blow not hit so hard, right? And so, and then aligned to that, we're overcoming, but now we're becoming. Growth is also associated with a growth mindset, which sees challenges as opportunities for learning and development. And this is part of that emotional resilience. So those are the key areas in which gratitude plays a significant role in our emotional health. It also, in addition to that, it also fosters empathy, which is our ability to understand and share the feelings of others, which is a key component of our emotional health, right? So in summary, gratitude fosters empathy by promoting recognition, appreciation. It fosters that emotional resilience by helping us be resilient against the hard times by developing those buffers as well as that mindset, right? So, man, we have covered so much. We've covered how it impacts our brain health, our mental health, our relationships, our emotional health. If we stop there, or even stopped at the brain health, or just covered one of those, there's so many reasons to be grateful alone. Here's an area of health that I was shocked in my research to learn how gratitude impacted us. And that's in our physical health, including weight loss. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to kind of preface it with this. Gratitude is not a substitute for medical help. It's not a substitute for a good diet or exercise. It's like an amplifier. All right. Okay. So I'm going to say some things, and you're what you're not going to do, right, is going to say, oh, I'm going to drop this med and use gratitude instead. Okay. All right. This is an amplifier, not a substitution. Okay. So did you know that gratitude benefits your immune function? Right. I'm going to have to slow down. I'm going to actually read this one word. But there's this huge growth right now in the field of psychoneuroimmunology and gratitude, right? And the relationship is pretty complex and multifaceted, but several studies are suggesting that gratitude has a very positive effect on our immune function. And here are some of the reasons why, right? We talked about this before, reduce stress, right? Coming from our sleep, right? And our positive outlook. So that stress, when we're not stressed, we're more resilient and we're against infection, right? So chronic stress, right? So we're reducing that. The immune function itself, right? So there's immune modulating substances that are supported by the reactions in our brain, like in that those chemical releases and those hormone releases that support that healthy immune response. Reduced inflammation. Inflammation is one of the most is linked to every chronic illness, actually, right? And inflammation is a source of a lot of disease, and so gratitude helps reduce inflammation, benefiting our immune system as well as helping us in all those other areas. And we've talked about sleep quality, so I'm not going to go there, but we know that the sleep quality is essential for an immune system, right? A good immune system. All right. Gratitude, in addition to our immune system, it's also good for our cardiovascular health, right? So this is where we're not going to drop like high blood pressure meds and substitute gratitude, okay? But there is research that verifies a strong connection between practicing gratitude and lower blood pressure. Wow, isn't that incredible? So when you're feeling stressed and you know it's happening, right? Take some deep breaths. I'm grateful for my wife. She pushes me to be a better human being. I'm grateful for my children, that they love to be with each other and they enjoy genuinely being around each other and supporting each other. Say things like that, man. I can feel that right now, like my heart rate dropping, right? I can feel all those things relaxing, right? So that stress reduction goes down because now you're just so grateful. What's there to be stressed about when you have so much abundance in your life, right? Right. So the relaxation we get from gratitude reduces our heart rate, improves our blood flow, and lowers that blood pressure. And the sleep quality we talked about also improves our blood pressure. That sleep regulates our blood pressure. Inflammation is part of blood pressure. We talked about that before. So, people, if you got cardiovascular issues, and if you don't have cardiovascular issues, practice gratitude because it's really good for your heart health, probably better than Cheerios, all right? Here's another area, again, mind-blowing to me, was gratitude and mindful eating. And I hadn't thought about this before, but when you look at the research studies and you hear what I'm about to tell you, it just makes sense, right? So because we have enhanced emotional regulation, right? We actually control our binge eating, right? Because most emotional eating is a response to unmanaged emotions, right? But if gratitude is helping us regulate those emotions, right, it reduces our likelihood of turning to food for emotional comfort because we don't need to do that, right? Also, because we're practicing gratitude, gratitude is a very mindful exercise, right? We're getting very present, we're very deliberate in our thoughts. And so we're developing this ability to be mindful in every moment. And that develops our mindful eating, right? So we know what we're eating, we know why we're eating it, right? We're paying attention more to our hunger cues and when we're full, right? And we're making a lot more intentional decisions on food choices, right? Also, we're shifting focus, going back to like emotional eating, right? Emotional eating is often triggered by negative emotions, right? But if we're flooding our mind and our attention to positive emotions, that emotional eating doesn't happen. And same with stress, right? A lot of emotional eating is stress triggered, right? So if we've got reduction in stress, these emotional eating's going down, right? So if you find that you're an emotional eater, right? Maybe try this is, okay, today's really scary. I didn't like today. My boss is yelling at me. My spouse is yelling at me. My kids aren't happy. I just want ice cream, right? Okay, but before I eat the ice cream, I'm going to say 10 things that I'm grateful for, right? So you do that, right? A lot of people also binge eat or emotional eat because of self-confidence issues or low self-worth, right? So when we gratitude, we have more compassion and understanding in relationship with ourselves, right? So that also changes, right? Also, gratitude, because it's emotional regulation, we are learning and on our cognitive levels, right? Or improved brain function on the cognitive side. Instead of using food to cope with stress and negative situations, we've developed better ways of coping, right? And then also, with that intense focus that we develop in gratitude, we're also more for food. I'm grateful for this chicken that makes me strong, right? I'm grateful for the food that nourishes my body, right? And so we're subconsciously telling ourselves choose good foods to fulfill these affirmations that we're giving ourselves. Okay. So those are just some of the things, right? I mean, there's actually, I'm scrolling through all my research and my notes here, and I'm skipping over like 4 or 5, right? But because there's a lot of crossover in these as well, right? But I just want to summarize this. Gratitude can impact smart food choices by promoting mindfulness, emphasizing nourishment, reducing emotional eating, fostering healthy habits, improving self-regulation, focusing on positive nutrition, connecting to physical health, and reducing impulsivity, right? Incorporating gratitude practices is great for your physical health, right? Your immune system, your cardiovascular, your diet choices, all of it, right? What an amazing thing gratitude is. I am grateful for gratitude. I am. All right. Our last category we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to cover some ways that you can incorporate gratitude into your daily life, right? Okay. So, spiritual health, right? When we are have practices of gratitude, we're acknowledging and appreciating the positive aspects of life and recognizing them as blessings. And this recognition fosters a sense of connection with a higher power or God, right? And we attribute our blessings to a source beyond ourselves. And that spiritual connection is so important for us to be connected to something bigger than ourselves, right? Especially when if you've heard me talk, all of these categories of health are interconnected, right? A spiritual connection is so important for our mental health. Gratitude also acts as a bridge between us and our spiritual beliefs, right? Expressing thanks for the gifts of life, love, and purpose deepens our connection with our higher purpose and a sense of divine presence. And for those of you who believe in God but may not have a relationship with God, gratitude is a big part of prayer. And if you've never prayed before, I want to teach you some core aspects of prayer that I think will help you. And it starts with gratitude. The first thing you do is you address God, right? And then you thank God for all the things you have. And when we thank God for what we have, this is a great practice of gratitude, right? You are thinking about the things you have versus the things you don't have. And you're recognizing God's involvement in your life. You're not alone, right? And then the next part of prayer is you ask for the things that you need, right? Where you pour your heart and soul out. And then if you're a Christian, you would close out in the name of Jesus Christ because Christ commanded us to do that. If you're not a Christian, you would end the prayer in another way. I don't know what that is. All right. So I just talked about prayer and gratitude. You can see how the next impact on our spiritual health is it deepens spiritual practices like prayer and meditation and mindfulness, right? Okay. So those are how gratitude impacts our spiritual health, right? And so let's talk about how to implement gratitude into our daily life, right? So what are some of the practices that we can do, right? One is journaling. This is one that I do, I wouldn't say regularly, but I do it a few times a month, right? And I wish I did it more, but I don't. And I probably the reason I don't is because I'm not much of a paper writer, and I'm getting more and more frequent on my tablet. But when you keep a small notebook nearby during your mindfulness sessions, or if you have a journal, you can just write in there really quickly what you're doing, right? I will often set aside time just to um, do a gratitude journal entry, right? So when I'm writing, it's a deliberate, purposeful gratitude journal entry. And there are a lot of gratitude journals out there that have lots of prompts to help you spur your writing and your thinking, right? One of the things that I do frequently is mindful appreciation, right? So oftentimes at the end of exercise, I'll do a meditation. I'll do like a guided meditation, and there's a lot of guided meditations out there that will help you focus on gratitude. And I do a lot of those. And so this is where you're intentionally bringing your attention to the things you're grateful for in that present moment, right? Aligned to this, and I also do this at the same time as my meditation, is gratitude breath, right? And you can do this at the same time or differently. But if you do a lot of breathing exercises, while you're doing the breathing, you can be thinking of the things that you are grateful for, right? So when you exhale, you're getting rid of the negative, and when you inhale, you're bringing in the positive, right? Another thing that you can do is when you're walking, people call this the mindful gratitude walk. And I learned about this in my research and preparing for this today. But I do this pretty regularly. When I go on my morning walks, I'm always listening to like a great podcast or a spiritual devotional on that walk. But I always have about a few minutes at the end of it, and I'll listen to a very reflective playlist that I have. And by the end of that, I'm thinking of all the amazing things in my life. And it's so motivating to me to start my day off that way. I mentioned meditations and prayer. People do mindful eating, right, with gratitude. So when they're working on their diet, especially people with food addictions, they will incorporate mindful eating and gratitude into their eating habits, right? So they'll be looking at the food they eat and almost having a conversation with that, right? By savoring each bite of the meal. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful where you come. I'm grateful for the nourishment you provide. That's not something I do, but I know other people do it. And then affirmations, right? Whether you're doing it in your meditation or at the end of your day before you fall asleep or when you wake up, right? People will say statements expressing their gratitude for various aspects of their lives. So remember, the key is to be fully present, engaged in both the mindfulness and gratitude aspects of your practice, right? This combination is going to amplify the positive effects on your mental well-being, helping you cultivate a deeper sense of appreciation for the richness of each moment. Now, you're going to customize these to make them work for however your practices work best for you, right? So I want to close out today the way I started, and that's with a story. A number of weeks ago, I was at an event, and we're going from one segment of the event to another. And this next segment involved things that I was not comfortable with, not because they were bad or morally bad, just because it was out of my comfort zone. And I started feeling my anxiety go up high to the point where I almost became shut down. And what did I do? I did gratitude journal, right? I opened up my tablet and I started stacking all the things I'm grateful for against all the things that was going on in my mind that was saying I couldn't do it, right? So I had all these negative emotions going on, and I started stacking all the positives against it, right? And before I knew it, when I started, the negative list was so high, but as I kept going grateful, and started listing all these things, the gratitude list got so high and so big that it dwarfed the negatives by monumental amounts. And my energy was high, my happiness was high, my self-confidence was high, my mental health was restored, my emotional resilience was strong, right? So all those things, right? I was connected again to my purpose on why I was at the event. So immediate impact on my mental health, my emotional health, my social health, and even my physical health in that moment. People, I just want to close out today by saying, I'm grateful for you. I've got a lot of people who regularly reach out telling me how much they appreciate these podcasts. I hear from people about how much they like the content Better Me Nation puts out. I've got people who have come to me and Better Me Nation for coaching. And I tell you, you are a blessing in my life. Starting this journey was not easy. It still isn't easy. There's some days I want to hide under a rock and then put that rock under a bigger rock and just disappear. But the people that are surrounding me are a blessing in my life. It keeps me going. And I'm so grateful to you. And I hope that this Thanksgiving and every other day after, you can initiate a practice of gratitude. Because I know if you do, I know if you implement gratitude, every single aspect of your health is going to get better. I know it. I promise you. And guess what? You don't need a coach for it. You don't need to spend money on it. You just need to say it. You need to think it. You need to feel it. That's all there is to it. And so that I end with, I'm grateful for you. Have a great holiday. And I wish you the best. And I'll talk to you next time.